Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is the weekly Tottenham news review with me, Lee the Dorset Spur. Been a bit of a quiet week this week. Well, unless you consider little old Tottenham Hotspur winning the Europa League. Drink it in. Think of that for 1 minute. Tottenham Hotspur have won another major trophy. Can you hear that? Can you hear that silence? That silence of Man United fans, of Liverpool fans, of Chelsea fans, of Arsenal fans, and God forbid, Southampton fans. All these fans that are constantly bantering us about never winning anything. Well, put it in your pipe and smoke it. Drink it in. Take all those salty tears, put them in a bottle and gulp them down. What else is there to say? What else is there to say? I cannot honestly tell you how much pleasure it gives me to see this team achieve something, especially considering this awful season that we've had in terms of losing 20 games, getting beaten by teams we shouldn't have got beaten by, all the banter, all the negativity, all the stress, all the aggravation, all the pain, all the sorrow. It all just fades away. It all just fades away. Seeing Heung-min Son pick up that trophy and hold it up there brought so much joy to me. Now, I wasn't at the final. I was really upset with UEFA, to be honest with you, because they knew it was my wedding anniversary and they knew that I'd planned to go to Paris with a wife, and yet they still persisted with having that day as the final. So I ended up, much to my despair, sitting in a Manchester United pub in Paris called Frog 16 with me and one other Spurs fan in there, surrounded by really unhappy Manchester United fans, booing the team like they could hear them on the telly, and stuff like that. And they were really up for it. They were really up for it, and they was not happy when me and this other fella were cheering. But we did. But having not been at the game, biggest regret of my life, not being there. But my wife is number one. She's the governor, and you know what they say, happy wife, happy life. So happy anniversary, Mrs. Lee the Dorset Spur. Anyway, I wasn't able to go to the game, but I watched it on the TV, and the fans that are out there, if you were one of them, if I had a hat on, I'd take it off to you, because you were superb. I know loads and loads of people that went, and I've seen their videos, I've seen their photos and so on, and it seemed like a magical time, and it makes up for it. I mean, I've been lucky. I went to Alkmaar, I went out to Ferencvaros, and managed to get in to see those teams. So I do feel like my Europa League journey was in part given. But having watched the game on the TV, I have to say, it was a difficult watch for sure. Neither team really looked like that they wanted to lose it. It was one of those really, we don't want to lose this game kind of games. But Tottenham defended so resolutely in that game. It was unbelievable. I was watching like this, with hands behind me, fingers most of the time, with one eye on the Man United supporters to the left of me, trying to stay composed and trying to stay focused, but very, very difficult game to watch. But then finals are never classics, are they? You know, you never really watch the finals and think to yourself, wow, you know, what a fantastic game that is. You know, it's very, very rare. And if you're a fan of one of the teams playing, it's always edgy, always edgy. The fans on the TV were fantastic. You could literally hear it. Like, I'm watching it in the pub in Paris, and all you could hear was the Spurs fans on the TV, which was really interesting, considering all the Man United fans just kind of sitting there watching. So yeah, I you know, unbelievable to win it, and I'm not ashamed to say that I was in tears at the end. I was so emotional. I was able to see the final in '84, and I never thought it was going to happen again. Like in the last 40 years, I've never really felt like we were ever going to get close enough again. Even in the Champions League final, I always thought that was a big ask against Liverpool. But listen, it is what it is, and as I say, make me really, really emotional. I live video called my son, who was watching in the new town in Poole with about 60 other Dorset Spurs fans, and again, there wasn't a dry eye in the place. Everyone was absolutely buzzing. And what does that do, like, as a person? How does that make you feel? How do you kind of react to that scenario, right? Because all the doom and gloom that we've gone through this season, when you have something like this happen, what a difference it makes. What a difference to your life it makes. You know, it makes you happy, it makes you content, it makes you proud, it makes you feel closer to your other Spurs fans and all the rest of it. And that's the power of sport, that's the power of football. It's so important to get those feelings of joy. But yeah, I'm unbelievable, and really looking forward to being at the game on Sunday to hopefully see the trophy displayed around the pitch at the end of the game and so on. As I say, in terms of the game, some great performances. I mean, standouts for me. Romero, I thought was rock solid. Van der Ven kicking the ball off of the line right towards the end was almost like scoring a goal. Vicario with a couple of immense saves. I mean, he put us under pressure a little bit a couple of times with his kicking and stuff like that. There was one occasion where he kind of fumbled. I think that's the one that led to Van der Ven clearing off the line, but he fumbled it, and I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. But he did make up for it with some outstanding saves. One in particular where he was diving and got his arm to it, and it hit his arm and went over. Brilliant stop. So again, another player who really showed his worth in that final. Big shout out from me for Yves Bissouma as well, who I thought was immense in that game. Really good performance from him. Really professional performance as well. He was strong in the tackle, but disciplined, not doing anything massively stupid. I know he got a yellow card, but it was really was it a yellow card? So again, massive shout out to him. Richarlison, I mean, for me, I'm going to say this, right? I think Richarlison probably leaves at the end of the season, right, in the summer. I think he probably moves on, potentially back to Everton. But I have to say, that guy will always be a hero. Like, I just love the person. I think he is absolutely fantastic. Not maybe the footballer, but the person. But in terms of his role in the game, I thought he did so much. He worked really hard down that left-hand side, and and a lot of his shithousery tactics and winding people up and stuff like that, I thought was great to see, and really what we needed. Really what we needed. Solanke again, running all the time with little to work from scraps, to kind of get involved in the game. And of course, a big shout out to the much maligned Brennan Johnson, who gets the goal, and absolutely deserves it. I mean, it's almost written in the stars that it was going to be Brennan Johnson, given the stick that that boy has had all this season for his contribution. But actually, when you consider how many goals he's scored and how many goals he's contributed in, you know, it's pretty impressive stuff for a very young lad. What is he, 21, 22, something in that region? You know, you can't dismiss what he's kind of done this year. And say, to get the goal, it was almost written in the stars. I loved it. The celebrations at the end really show. It was good to see how much the players wanted the manager to be part of that. It really does show that the suggestions that he'd lost the dressing room earlier on in the season. It just goes to show you that that's absolute bullshit and not true at all. Those players really wanted to win. They really wanted to play for him. They respect him. They like him. And that's really important, you know. I think you don't have to like your boss, but you have to respect them and want to. I've always said that you can get people to do stuff for you because they have to, because they're paid to do that or whatever. But to have them do it for you because they want to, now that's a whole different kettle of fish and much more important. So yeah, you know, congratulations to the whole team. I thought they put in a really good performance. I thought Man United, to be given their credit, I think that they had all the stats look their way. They worked hard. They put in a chance after chance after chance, but with staunch defending in the way we did, I thought that was they could have played for another 100 minutes, and I don't think Man United would have scored. I think we were so resolute in that defensive display. And people will go, and they've said, you know, the worst final, really crap, and all the rest of it, and Tottenham have beaten one of the worst Manchester United teams ever, and blah blah. Listen, they were in the final. They got there. You know, they won that semi-final, you know, coming from behind right at the death. They showed resilience and the toughness to get there. And they may not be a great football team, but it doesn't matter. That's who's in the final. It could have been anybody, but it was them. And everyone will want to diminish your success because of, you know, petty jealousies and rivalries and all that sort of stuff. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It is a third Europa League win trophy for Tottenham. It gets the monkey off our back, you know, of no trophies, Tottenham and all the rest of it. I mean, who are they going to banter now for not having any trophies? You know, I mean, how far back do you have to go before you actually get bantered for it? You know, I don't know. You know, do they start bantering West Ham now because it's been a couple of years since they won a trophy? You know, is that how it works? I mean, bear in mind, you know, Newcastle was something like 70 years. Crystal Palace have never won anything. You know, so it's interesting, isn't it? All these people going, oh, you shouldn't celebrate, and Arsenal have had a better season. I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less about how Arsenal feel their season went. When you look back in history books in 10 years' time, no one will remember the glory days of Arsenal coming second. No one will remember that. But they will remember that Crystal Palace won a first major trophy. Newcastle won a trophy. Tottenham won a trophy. That's what counts. That's what counts. You know, you can banter it as much as you like. You can be bitter and twisted, as lemon as you like. I couldn't give a monkey's toss. I don't care what anyone on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook groups or TikTok or any of that is thinking right now. All I'm thinking about is the fact that my team won a trophy this season, and it won't matter to me that we come 17th. It won't matter. I said it at the beginning of the season. If you asked me, would you take a trophy and come in 17th, I would have said yes, I will take it. The difficult bit is going through those losses to end up 17th. That's the difficult bit, right? That's the pain. But the ecstasy of Wednesday and beyond, you know, will stay with me, you know, for the whole of the summer. For the whole of the summer, I'll be proudly wearing my Tottenham shirt down on holiday when I'm in Cyprus in June. I'll be wearing my Tottenham shirts and all the rest of it. I'll be calling it out. I won't give a monkey's toss about what anybody else thinks. Come next season, we'll have to see where we go from there. I guess the big question now, really, in everybody's lips is, are you Ange in or are you Ange out? There have been people this season who have been staunch Ange out from the start. You know, they've wanted him out. You know, he's not proved himself to them. He's not shown what they want from him. Me personally, I've always been Ange in, support the manager. I've always wanted to do that. It's been difficult in it, and there's been times where you waver and you think, God, this is just, you know, it's just not going to happen. Not because I don't think he's a good coach or manager, just because sometimes it just doesn't work. But he said in his press conference that everything was geared to winning this competition. This is the one he thought we could win. And so that's where his focus primarily has been. And maybe that answers some of the questions. Maybe that answers some of the questions as to why he's made some decisions he's made and all the rest of it. And of course, you can tell the fact that we haven't played our best, strongest team, you know, since winning the semi-final for sure. And certainly some before that, because we are trying to protect those players for the final. Now, in an ideal world, you would want to play those top players all the time, but you can't do that, and hence you end up with 8s and 9, you know, player changes. That's not going to help. You know, yeah, the players are playing together, they train together and all the rest of it, but you can take, you know, 1 or 2 quality players out of your team, but when you're changing 8 at once, that's never going to work for you. You can take Matisse Tell and put him on the left-hand side, and he can play there, and he can probably do a good job. But if you're taking him away, and you're taking, you know, Udogie away, or you're taking Udogie away and taking away that consistency, then you're asking for trouble. You know, you can take away Mickey van der Ven, but taking away Mickey van der Ven and Christian Romero, you know, it's going to have an impact. So is there a case that a lot of the losses, or some of the losses we've had, have been because we've had to, you know, make sacrifices for this competition? Maybe, I don't know. You don't know the ins and outs of it and all the rest of it. But what I do know now is that he's won a trophy. He said he would. I always win in my second season, and he has. He's proved himself from that point of view. He knows how he can win a trophy. He's also shown that he is flexible in his approach and flexible in how he can set his teams up. He's shown that he can make decent substitutions, like bringing Danso on, like he did in the final, to shore things up and utilise that defensive quality. So a lot of the things he's been accused of, I don't necessarily believe, and I think he does probably deserve another season to see where it goes. Of course, if you're then entering next season and all of a sudden you're you know, banging on the door of relegation, it's a real possibility, then of course you need to consider that. But I think, given that we should now have Champions League money, and given that Ange has proved himself to his employer, as in Daniel Levy and co, I think he deserves the opportunity to spend that money in the right ways, of course, to give us the right sort of players to compete in the Champions League. Because that's not going to be easy, right? We're miles away from being Champions League contenders. But to be in the competition and all the money it brings, you just never know. You need luck. As was shown in the Europa League. You need luck to win a competition. You know, if you look at Crystal Palace winning the FA Cup, you know, Henderson in another day gets sent off for that, and, you know, it all goes the other way. A bit of luck goes your way. you know, and deservedly so. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the summer, how much money is spent, what players are brought in. We desperately need some real quality, you know, ready now players that are going to come in and strengthen this squad. You know, I've got no doubt that Lucas Bergvall and Archie Gray will be great acquisitions in the future. Mikey Moore, for instance, as well, and Dane Scarlett. I'm sure they're going to be great players in the longer term. But you cannot rely on those players constantly. They should never have played the amount of games they've played this season, and they all know that. They can tell they've started to run out of steam. You know, the tiredness has crept in, and so you know what we need. So Daniel Levy has got a big question to ask now. What does he do? How far do they go? What questions can we ask? How much money can we spend? What can we get in to help Ange build for the future, so that this doesn't end up a one-off and we've got to wait another 20 years for another slice of success. Yeah. So listen, I am so over the moon. I can't tell you, it has brightened my year up. I've had West Ham fans, Arsenal fans contact me and say well done. You know, I'm sure it's a great feeling for you, and it is, which is great, because there are people out there, are decent people out there, and not just, you know, fully obsessed with their own negative, what do you call it. So I you know, as far as I'm concerned, you know, this is you know, one of the best things that's going to happen this year, and I'm just overjoyed and chuffed, and I can't wait to get up to the stadium on Sunday to meet up with my friends and have a proper celebration. Can't go to the trophy thing today because obviously some of us have to work. Taking my break out just to do this video, so can't wait to get out there and meet up with people and really enjoy it. I hope that we can retain some pride by putting Brighton to the sword. Maybe some of the players that have been being rested can actually play. I know it's a big ask because they'll have been out celebrating and all sorts, and deservedly so. But we also need to end this season on a high in the stadium by beating somebody in a meaningless game. Now it's meaningless, but it would be great to finish the season with a win, and get that back to winning ways, and look forward to next season. Of course, we will have the Super Cup coming up with playing the winners of the Champions League, which will be fantastic. And again, you never know, we could win that. How would that feel? Another trophy in August. Wow, you know, it could never stop. This could be the tiny turning point. This could be the sliding doors moment that means that us as Tottenham fans are going to start enjoying our football and getting some bragging rights. How cool would that be? Unreal. But listen, take this opportunity to enjoy this, because it's been a long time coming and we don't know how long it's going to last. So enjoy the good times, shut out the negativity, forget about Arsenal, forget about West Ham, forget about Chelsea, forget about Man United, Liverpool, anybody else. Forget about all those mugs. We're not interested in any of them. All we're interested in is Tottenham now. We're Tottenham till we die. Thanks for watching the video. I appreciate it. This is only my little slant on it. Everyone's got an opinion. Let me know yours. Stick it in the comment section below. Do read them all. If you like the video, please do give it a thumbs up, because that helps the algorithm. If you're not subscribed to Chris's channel, please do subscribe to Chris Cowley's channel. He puts out loads of really good content. Spurs Chat podcast with, you know, talking after the game, lots of content from press conferences and so on and so forth. Puts himself out a lot to get to all the games, so deserves your support. Doesn't cost you anything either. But as always, if I see you on Sunday, be good to say hello. But as always, I'll leave you with this one thought: up the Spurs.